my belief is this is going to elevate the whole world. Once you spend a lot of time in and out of these virtual reality spaces and networking and stuff, because it is so elevating, when you walk back out into your brick and mortar space, it's really too much work to drive yourself back down that rabbit hole. And it's like, I'm going to stay right where I am. I'm going to elevate and move forward.
Welcome, welcome. We are here with Beverly Zeimet, the VR Goddess. And before we dive straight in, let me give you a quick intro, a bit of info about Beverly. She's actually a little farm girl from Iowa, second oldest of 11 who set out to change the world. She has 45 years in holistic medicine teaching, workshops, and retreats. She's an international author, speaker, and lifelong entrepreneur. Always a visionary, early adopter, a leader, paving the road into the next level, working now and exposing the world to virtual reality. That is the next level of communication, education, doing business, collaboration on a global scale. And she is part of the baby boomer era, taking this century with a bang. But the thing that impresses me the most about Beverly is that she's actually the same age as my father. And my father is getting knocked out by his iPhone, always having trouble. And here we have Beverly totally changing the VR landscape with her events. Beverly, big welcome. You also have some really cool events coming up that I can't wait to talk about. But before we do, tell us a bit about you. Like, how did you get into the VR space? I mean, this is a huge leap from holistic medicine to what you're currently doing.
Oh, it's great to be here, and thank you so much for this opportunity. To get into that virtual reality space was about 6 years ago is when I got introduced to it. And I was looking for a place to put butts in the seats. My business, traveling and being in the face and, in different parts of the country and all over Canada, it came to a halt when online courses came into being. And it just really upset my apple cart. And people were like, oh, well, we don't have to go there. We'll just buy them online. I want to ask your audience one question. How many of these online courses do you have that you've never looked at? I have my share. So I took a bit of a sabbatical, and it's really not too far fetched from the holistic because I do my holistic work in that virtual reality space. And so when you understand what virtual reality does and how it performs, it's really kind of unique. So there is a science behind virtual reality, and it has been around over 20 years and being used a lot. The gaming industry is kind of what put virtual reality kind of out there in the face of the communities, but there have been also other platforms who have used the space more for casual networking, things like that, but they are putting them into business and education, and that's where we focused on. And with the technology, especially over the last 6 8 months, it's unbelievable how crazy it's gotten. When we started 6 years ago, we had one platform we could be on because of a PC, and it had really great graphics. But the thing was, if you didn't have a PC, you couldn't get on, and you did have to download the client. So there was, gigs on the um, on your computer.
Mm-hmm.
Today, all you have to do is pick up this little phone and click a link and poof, you're in. So the changes have been really dramatic and have helped us a lot to start furthering our adventure into that space.
I know that a lot of businesses are kind of prepping to use like VR spaces to, like you mentioned, it's mostly used either for gaming or, business meetings or stuff like that, or to get things, have more of a community feeling, especially when you're working remotely. But what you're doing is something a lot more unique. You're basically transferring live events into VR events and then kind of complementing live events, let's say, with a VR experience where people can get in touch and get to know each other, get to know speakers, experts, get a taste of their expertise in that VR space. And I think that's a pretty unique offering. And guys, if you're watching this, I'll probably add some screenshots to see some of the stages that Beverly has built to get an idea of what's happening in there. So tell us a bit about that. Like, why do you feel, is it that we're trying to replace live experiences, or how do you feel this is beneficial to, let's say, the coaching, the education space?
Great question. I love questions like that. When you look at virtual reality, and again, let's make one thing clear. You do not have to have the headset. So with what we're
Mm.
doing, you don't have to wear that VR headset, right? It
Yeah,
is
that's a
with the
big
click
one
of a
for a
button,
lot of
like a
people.
URL.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
is. If you have a Mac, if you have a PC, if you have a phone, or if you have a tablet, we're on all of these devices. And the room and the spaces are always open to come in even after an event is over or prior to an event, just to get some of that networking. And so we're not looking to replace anything. We're just looking to make things better. As there are a lot of people that would just love to come into and learn from a facilitator, but don't have funding or the time, to get in an airport, to go across the country or even across the pond, right? To be able to attend. And a Zoom just doesn't cut it. It does not really give you that connectedness of being there. So in the virtual reality space, you as a facilitator on that stage, you are overlooking an audience of people, not at a black wall or trying to see where all these squares and all the static noise that are happening. So it unites that. It's very cost effective. It's very efficient. And one of the advantages, I talked about a little bit of the science. So when you're in a virtual reality space, it automatically puts you into like an alpha state where you are in that like beginning stages of dream state. You remove yourself out of time and space. To experience that is one thing, to talk about it is something different. So when you're actually immersed, and that's why they call it immersion, right? So you're in this space and it is a safe space. When when I've brought in facilitators in here that are afraid to get on a stage in real life, they get on a stage in here and they lose track of time. Their confidence level just soars, and the ability to give that whole in how they do it in the presentation, it's delivered in a powerful manner that the receiver, the audience out there, is going to learn more. They're going to retain more of it, and they're going to be able to recall more of it. And so when
Mm.
you said how what we're looking to do in our Soulfest Mastery membership, which is going to be a year-long program, is these facilitators are going to have an opportunity to be on that stage and interact with that audience. And the audience is going to be able to experience the event. It's not
Hmm.
talking about it, it's not selling you something, it's about the actual experience of different modalities, whether it's a healing modality, whether it's a learn and how to incorporate like a mindset shift or something to this effect into your daily life. So when you as a participant enter into this organization, into this group of community, because we're going to have 60 facilitators giving something different. There's never going to be two of anything. It's all
Hmm.
going to be 60 different presentations that you can experience, feel it, have a discussion afterwards. And when you can interact that way, it's so automatic, you feel united. It is like a little safe space. So that's what we're doing.
Hey, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you're enjoying the episode. And I just wanted to let you know that if you're making more than six figures and you want to collapse time between where you are right now and your goals, you want to scale your business with a lot more freedom, a lot more fun, a lot more joy from this experience. And like I mentioned, do it faster. I have something that will help. Just like I did my clients. For example, Yoshwin was actually afraid to grow his $120 million a year business because he was afraid he was going to make a mistake that would cost him millions. I quickly got him unstuck and well on his way to doubling the business. Another example, Jessica, she was making 10K a month, but she was stressed out, overwhelmed, overworked, close to burnout, and she was actually kind of hating her business. She quickly scaled to 25K a month while actually working less and having more fun in the business. And I do it through my Warrior Shaman system. If you'd like to learn more about how this system can help you achieve your goals, like I mentioned, with more freedom, fun, and just less grind, less hustle, there's a link below where you can learn more. Now let's get back to the episode. So like, because we talked a bit about this before the actual interview, and my understanding is that it's a kind of Zoom 2.0, right? My personal objection to it, and it's probably something that a lot of some people might have as well, is that I like seeing my clients. Because like, especially like a mindset and business coach, I can pick up on very, very small cues on their faces, on their body language. And when I pick up on that, I kind of get like tons of information of what's actually going on in their subconscious. Where like my thought is, that's not something I can do in VR. Granted, there are some facial expressions, but not to the degree or the finesse that I get to have when I'm actually, seeing you and interacting with you, right? So what would you say to people who have this concern?
Well, there's pros and cons on both sides of everything, and that is a great question. And when you're working individually with someone and you want that more, say, the facial look one-on-one, person to person, that can happen because you can actually live stream into the arena so you can actually see the person, and the person can actually see you. And what we're looking to do is bring some of that together so that the facilitator is going to be there in their avatar, but there'll be a screen with partial of what they're sharing, so they'll be able to see it. Now, in the platform we're using is spatial. There can be a little bubble above the head, which will show the face of the actual person if they so choose to want to turn that on or off.
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
that again is personal to the person. Some people like to come incognito. So we're going to have a group of a lot of different perceptions, shall we say, and how
Right.
people feel they want to present themselves. And so we do have that immersion where you can bring those two worlds together. If there's something where you want to go further with someone and someone wants to go further with the facilitator, then that can also be arranged, and you can move it onto a Zoom or a person to person in real life. So
Mm-hmm,
there's a
mm-hmm.
lot of ways that that can happen. So this is just one way to take it. And when the facilitator is there working in a group of people, regardless of where they are, whether it's live and in person, whether it's live on Zoom, or even in that virtual reality space, to be able to pick up everybody wherever they are, that takes an eye and a direction, but it also takes away from the facilitator's delivery.
Right.
So we're not here to change the world. We're here to bring a connection with community, and you have a tighter community when you are all in the same space, because you will
That's true.
get that synergism. When we talk about the synergism, because it's all energy, we're an energetic being. The brain says, hey, this is real, there's real people here. And so you do get that synergism of the immersion, and it is pretty powerful. I advise, everybody to experience it. Hey, if it's for you, great. If it's not, that's great too, right?
I was dating, like I think 10 years ago or something like that. I was dating this girl who was really, really into role playing games, like online role playing games. I didn't really get it back then. Like, girls aren't usually that into, like, or back then rather, let's say, they weren't really that into this type of space. But then later I got it. It wasn't that she was there for the game. She was there for the team play, for the people who were there that she met, that she felt safe with, just like you said, right? Because you have this
Right.
avatar, you also benefit from a bit of anonymity. you open up a lot more. You tend to talk, and that's really cool. And maybe another application that I could see for this, I was having an interview with Dan Brule, the guy who taught Tony Robbins about breath work, right? He actually taught him to do
Mm-hmm.
it better. And what I told Dan is that this idea of breath work, or what he's doing, is not accurate, because it's not work, and he doesn't limit himself to the breath. It's like an amplification of energy, an amplification of the being. And we're talking about this idea of many people, like millions of people, doing breathing at the same time, pulsating at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely see this as a huge application, like, because the events that you're going to be hosting on the platform are going to be very healing oriented. So, like, having millions of people on the platform and all breathing, inhaling and exhaling at the same time, I think will lead to a huge amplification of energy, because that's literally what happens to an individual when they do this quote unquote breath work.
You're
Right?
right.
What do you think?
I think that's brilliant, and how I see it performing in that virtual reality space is, again, when you have the undivided attention of yourself and the facilitator, you're going to pay more attention, because you don't have the static, nobody's sitting beside you ruffling papers, eating. You don't have little squares with people jumping all over the place, and dogs and cats and kids, and so in that virtual reality space, there's one thing going on. You have to remember, you are sitting in front of the computer, and everyone sees the whole event happening, but you feel yourself move in there, and have that connectedness. And as the longer that you're in that space, because you can see your avatar, it becomes you, and you kind of become one with it. So with this breathing thing, I could see the facilitator there on the stage and say, okay, this is what we're going to happen, and we're going to impact the world. So I want everyone to practice this breathing technique. I'm going to bring myself up on the screen. And so now this is where we bring up the video of the
Right.
practice, and you have the facilitator there live in their physical body, demonstrating the performance. And now each person, in the quietness of and the stillness of their home environment, begins breathing just like what they're watching the gentleman on the screen doing, right? The difference between watching them in the virtual reality space versus on a YouTube is because your brain has you immersed in a group of synergism, and you
Hmm.
begin doing that, and the power of the energy that's going to move out with that, it will be mind-blowing, just mind-blowing. And that's kind of one of the missions that I'm looking to accomplish in this space with this soul mastery membership for a year-long program, and having the experience of 60 different modality formats to impact the world, is to do just that: increase the awareness of what is available, increase the ability to actually feel it, perform it, be a part of it in a group setting, to alter the overall vibration of the planet and up level and get back into that feeling of happiness and joy and community and connectedness that we've been so separated with. It's
Yeah.
time to reunite, and being at this era in my life, in that the last decade of the first century, is that's my legacy. And this is
That's great.
part of my identity that I want to express into that as well, to bring this together. And I've heard a lot of people talk about, oh, the baby boomers aren't going to be doing anything like this. They're old, sitting in a rocking chair in a nursing home. Whoa, let's change that. That is definitely a misconception, because there are a lot of us that are ready to, like, take this century take this century out, because we brought it in. We got the world to this point. We're going to really give a big bang on the way out. And my
Hmm.
personal belief is the ability to have this digital space is going to really impact and alter and change, because once you spend a lot of time in and out of these virtual reality spaces and networking and stuff, because it is so elevating immediately in there, when you walk back out into your brick and mortar space, let's just say you came into it and you just gotten into a disagreement somewhere down the line, whether it was with your kid, a spouse, the neighbor, the boss. When you leave the space, you're so elevated and uplifted and energized that when you go back into that brick and mortar space, it's really too much work to drive yourself back down that rabbit hole. And it's like, okay, I can't change what just happened back there. I'm going to stay right where I am. I'm going to elevate and move forward, because what's past is past is past, right? You have the now. And if you don't want your future to look like your past, you better stay in the now and improve it. That's my theory.
That's cool. That's cool. So from what I see, like the benefit of it, if you want to, let's say you want to attend an arena, like, or like a Tony Robbins event with 8,000, 10,000 people, like you said, the cost of that is much higher. It's probably not very accessible to a lot of people.
Right.
And being like in an event or a space like this, that added bonus of optional anonymity allows you to open up a lot more and, like you say, get immersed in the experience. When I'm playing video games, when I fall asleep at night, I'm actually dreaming that I'm in the video game and I feel like the sword in my hands, or, I feel. So that's very interesting, because what that grabbed my attention instantly the first time we talked. Being in the alpha state instantly allows you to receive more of it and drive it
Right.
faster into your subconscious. I think that's really cool. Um, Tell us about the events that you're preparing and you're setting up for the healing modalities.
Um, oh, the Soulfest Mastery membership, like I mentioned, it's going to go over 12 months. So we'll have 5 new modalities every month, right? And it is a membership, as we say. And the opportunity as one of the facilitators is huge, because it's not just a one and done. You
Mm-hmm.
have the space for the whole year. So you're able to do other events. And we're going to teach the facilitators how to build that business in this virtual reality space so that they can continue with networking. They can bring, people in. We're going to have a cross link of communities, because it's all like-minded, with the holistic
Right.
and alternative things that are happening here, to support one another. So they'll work on an affiliate type, situation, so that the referrals that come in, and to be able to work in a community. The benefit of the facilitator being able to have new leads coming in from the other facilitators, group, is great, but it all works together. And who's going to gain the most are the audience
Mm.
that are receiving things that they didn't even know existed, modalities that they weren't aware of, or maybe aware of but didn't really have a full understanding of. And to be able to actually experience is going to open up. And my belief is this is going to elevate the whole world, you know, and have a greater understanding, because it's such a wide reach. And the participant is going to be able to come in and repeat everything that they've already seen. And so there's also an opportunity for recurring income, where we'll have like trade show booths where
Mm-hmm.
people can have their wares that are conjunction. So let's just say, excuse me, let's just
No
say
problem.
there's a yoga in, and where there's a lot of different types of yoga. And so we have moving parts of yoga. So maybe someone would like to have their clothing line as part of that event. So now that people getting excited about yoga don't have to go see where they can find the stuff, there's an opportunity they can talk to the person in the booth and say, how do I get these clothings, and see what it looks like. There may be yoga mats and yoga equipment. So all of these things are going to open up to where it's not just a facilitator standing on a stage. It's an event that's going to capitalize on a whole lot of other moving parts and that networking interaction, so that the participants can also get to know one another
Hmm.
and move into the different spaces and build more and more larger communities in different modalities besides the holistic and health and wellness, and move into, like a finance. So if we do one on all in finances and investment, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to that. So we're looking to open up to the different genre groupings to build these communities that everyone on the planet uses.
Hmm.
And when these are trusted communities interacting, we begin to have a whole ecosystem within the virtual reality space that's trusted, that people can have a go-to instead of trying to chase down on Dr. Google, whose website, well, if you don't pay to get on that front page, you don't get seen, right?
Right.
Well, in the virtual reality space and how we've put it together, you now have what we are calling a walk-in website that's open 24/7 in every single time zone, that's easily accessible because you can come back and visit that space at any time. And it is open to the public when there's not an event going on, to be able to see what it's all about. And it's like, wow, how do I partake in these events? And then that drives more traffic. So that's kind of in a nutshell what we're putting together.
Would be interesting to gamify a bit the experience as well. Get
You
creative
know,
with
I'm
it.
glad you I'm glad you said that, because we can do that. And we're looking, where we can gamify it, so when everyone goes and visits, like, say, the trade show booths, they collect a coin and then they
Right.
get a free session or something like that. They get something at the end, right? Maybe they get a sneak peek into a course. They get,
Or
whatever the facilitator wants to do.
or even
And
like when they're networking, you can give them the option to rate the other person on how valuable the networking was, how the
exactly.
interaction was, and have like a leaderboard of best top networkers or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of possibility with it. Beautiful. Um, Guys, there's going to be a link below in the description. If you are listening to the audio version, definitely check out the description to learn more about Beverly's upcoming events, especially if you are a healer and you want to attend this and check it out, like present your methodology and share it with more people. Or if you are in the healing space and you want to learn new methodologies, get in touch with new people, connect, network, definitely check out the links below. Beverly, thanks so much for joining us. Is there anything else that you feel like we should know that maybe we haven't touched on?
No, I think that pretty much sums it up. I do have a free gift. I'll make sure you get that link.
Beautiful.
And we do have a special link too that I'll share with you, where people can come in and network with us on board, actually get into, we'll help you build your avatar and get you into the space just to experience it and give you
Beautiful.
that opportunity. So we're doing that. So I'll make sure you get those two links.
Is that
And
the
wow, I hope to see.
free
Go ahead.
gift?
No, that's just a bonus on the free gift. The free gift is going to be um, a book that'll give you information on why a virtual event in this kind of space versus a Zoom type of event, and
Hmm.
how you can grow it and scale and actually get more people coming in, and just kind of looking back on everything that we already spoke about without having to repeat that, is to have your audience experience something in a new way. And one thing I can say, virtual reality and the whole metaverse, which encompasses everything digital, it's it's going with or without you. And
True.
the sooner you get there, the better opportunity you have to be first in line, right?
Awesome, awesome, Beverly. Thank you so much for taking the time to share this with us, guys. Absolutely check it out. If you have questions for Beverly, connect with her on social media. You have the links in the description. And looking forward to seeing you again.
Thank you.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And you know what? Something that's really, really frustrating for me is this thing that I keep hearing both from clients, both from people who regularly check out the content. They usually say, hey, I don't understand why this content is not getting hundreds of thousands, millions of views, downloads, because it's so freaking good. And I gotta be honest, instead of feeling happy about it, elated, I do feel kind of frustrated. I mean, like, why isn't it getting out there a lot more? So, you know what? If you'd like to help out with this goal, the best thing you can do if you're watching the video right now is give it a like, maybe share it with a friend, or if you're listening to the podcast and you're enjoying this show, giving the podcast a rating either on Apple Podcasts or wherever you are listening to your podcasts is a tremendous help. And if you do help out, I just want you to know that I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.